Hello, my name is Amar Rabasad. It's 5:14 p.m., July 8, 2020. And I posted a bunch of tweets today, ROSHI and I-911, about the conversations outside the window. I also compared those conversations with PK, the Chinese trafficker who also sexually harassed me on the phone. So what PK did on the phone is what the men are doing outside the window. So what PK was doing was soliciting me because there's a rumor in the building that I give good service. And since I don't have any physical contact with anybody in the building, basically, I don't have any sort of a relationship with anyone in the building. The service that he's talking about would have to be criminal activity, and it would have to be remote in the form of what, by that I mean, he'd have to be accessing me remotely without consent, of course. So he was threatening me in his messages, saying he wants to play with the electric rod and he works for the highest of the high. That was a threat. And don't do anything stupid when I hung up the phone. And also he said he's from the government. So that meant that from all the other comments I had from people outside the window, my window, I'm registered and I'm being monitored, and there's a contract with the government, the local government, the municipality. And I heard that a Muslim guy who was a steward illegally, who was taking advantage of this setup, this trafficking setup, registered me through the court. So I was registered as somebody who's whatever he said through the court system. So it was escalated. So the idea was to smother me, and it's a recruitment process, really. It's all a procurement, a selection, procurement, training, and selling. So the whole idea is to smother you and don't give you any way out and don't give you any other options to make a living. You have no other options. And I just got hit on the chest. So the power is turned down, but I am getting hits on the head, like sudden pulses of pain into the head. That's not showing up right now because it's turned off. If you can see that, these are the numbers. So my hand, see the high RF reading and the high electrical reading on the hand. So the hand is tagged. So let's see. It's not triggering, but you'll see the numbers here. Well, actually, I think the battery is dead. Yeah, the battery might be low. Yeah. It's not triggering the alarm. Oh, here we go. So it's an on and off. It's an on and off process. But here is the electrical component, which is not, of course, shown in this because it's not broken down. So there's a high electrical component, and which means that my temperature would be high. So the electrical currents would affect my heart rate because my chest is being hit, 37, the forehead, 36, 37.1. I don't have a fever. 37.4, because my back is being pulsed with an electrical current that's heating up my body. 37.2. 37.1. 37.1. All over the place. So I just took my blood pressure, 125/83, and the heart rate went up. That's quite high. That's because my chest is being pulsed. And I'll just take this camera off and show you the electrical currents of my hand. So this is my blank screen, and here is the hand. So the hand, take the hand away. Hand, take the hand away. Hand, and the hand is burning right now. Take the hand away. Hand. So there's a high electrical reading of my body. So there are different technologies being used, and the technologies change depending on what is prescribed, what the other step in the agenda is to break you down. So I'm going to, and it depends on the manager as well. So the manager, judging from the comments outside the window, is most likely involved with Waltech, which is the contractors outside the window, because they keep talking, shouting, and you can hear it in the videos if you listen to them that I posted. You're a target, you're a target, you're a target, you're a target. So a target means that you're registered, and the cops have a file on you, and they can use the file to come after you whenever they want. So that file is being used to threaten the target by men like the people outside the window. And what they're doing is threatening, because they talk about rape, and they talk about giving people heart attacks, which is murder. And here is the blood pressure reading. And it's been high all day. I could feel my body. I could feel when my blood pressure is high. And a lot of it has to do with what's going on outside the window and being pulsed with these technologies. So since I'm not working, and I do have a background in economics, and I used to trade, I'm on the system monitoring the markets. So you know, sometimes you make money and sometimes you don't. So it's not really day trading. It's picking off opportunities as it comes along. So because there's nothing else to do. I mean, there is no. I mean, there is absolutely no security, no job security anymore. So you got to find. You have to be find ways to make money, and you have to be creative about it. I'm lucky that I have an accounting and economics background, so I'm able to do something with it and use it wisely. There are risks involved, but if you know what you're doing, there's really no risk. Anyway, because I need to concentrate while I'm doing that was my point. I'm getting hit constantly on my head and in my eyes. My eyes are really, really sore. I put ice packs and hot. which will cause cataracts. So I put ice packs on, and I just shield, and I shield while I'm sitting here, and I shield in bed as well. So, and it's been really, really, really bad between being harassed outside the window and being hit in the eyes, in the head, the ear, the temples, which is why I have all these gray hairs, because a temple around the ear is really a favorite spot, because when you hit the temple, of course, you can kill somebody if you hit the temple hard enough. But it's a great way to effectively cause enormous amount of pain in the eyes and the ears and the head, the whole head area, that general area. So the temple is a favorite spot, and as is inside of the ear as well. So yeah, you can see the blood pressure all over the place, which is what I was tweeting about all day while I was monitoring the markets. So I was trying desperately to concentrate, because you really do need to concentrate. So I'm just going to take my blood pressure one more time. And when your pressure is high, you tend to feel really tired, because your heart is pumping and it's working out. And I just got a pulse on my chest. And yeah. So the heart attack, heart attack, heart attack. I'm being pulsed in my chest as I'm talking. So, and the high electrical currents in my body. So see that? So I'll definitely have to go and check this out. So I'll be, yeah, because it's happening way, way, way too often. I think a lot of, there's a lot of people logging on at the same time. And the chest area and the back area is being pulsed constantly by multiple people. So keep in mind, what is being done here is being done to children, because, and I just got another one. I'm not sure if it's going to show here. Yeah, that was the back. So the back was pulsed, and the chest. So that one pulse, the pressure went up to 135 over 105, and then dropped to 131 over 98. This is how fast the technologies work, and this is how fast you can die. This is how fast you can die. So become tweeting, and I'm drawing the connections between what's going on outside the window and PK and the informants who are working with management and the board of directors. And these people are saying, the contractors are saying it's absolute, along with your target, your whore. It's absolute, on your target. And so almost tried to kill you, and that was poison in your drink. And he named a person in the workplace when my D-dimer test came up to over 8,000 when the normal was under 500, which indicated clots in my system, thickening of the blood, basically. And he talked about that. So he has this file. Or they have the file, Waltech have the file about me. And they know what other people who rented me out from the cops did to me. to train me and to customize me to be a slave. And they're openly talking about it. So these technologies are used to demonstrate how easy it is for them to kill me for exposing what's going on. Right at this point, there is absolutely no doubt that the men outside the window, like PK, who could see me inside of my home and he has people looking, and he told me that these men are looking at me share and are looking at my body naked with every detail clearly. And they are openly saying, I effed with her, I raped her, I could see her. One of the guys, I think, is on drugs. And I think he drinks as well. Came back from lunch and he had drinks. And that would explain why he's openly saying these things. Because, person in his right mind would not be saying these things loudly as he's doing. So something is not right in his head. So right after the pulse, it was, now it's 127/86, went back down. So right after the pulse, and I didn't get a pulse for the last 2 minutes. So it went from 135/105 at the pulse on my chest. And it feels like, first of all, it changes the readings. And if I had another hand, I'd show you this. But I can't use this hand because of the cuffs. But the 135/105 is when the chest was pulsed. So it went down to 131/98, and that was just a smaller pulse. And then I didn't get any for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it went down to 127/86. You could see that. So the heart rate was 97, 97, 96. So what is happening is the blood vessels are constricting, and maybe it's affecting the valves in my system. Who knows exactly? It's hard to get a straight answer from doctors. Sometimes I wonder even if the doctors know, because it depends on the experiment that's being carried out. But I have a funny feeling that doctors know most of what's going on. If not exactly, they know most of what's going on. Because targets are experimentees, illegal experimentees, which means that everybody that they come in contact with have to take part in the experiment and keep the person psychologically in that experiment, which means that trigger words have to be used in order to keep the person in the frame of mind that knowing that he or she is being experimented with and she's not like everybody else. Well, I think that feeling should be familiar to you, because there is a lot of professionals who are coming out and saying that COVID-19 is an experiment for other experiments to come. Bill Gates is also talking about the other pandemic, and that's going to come. So how does he know that there's going to be a pandemic? I mean, the point of how, this pandemic should prevent the other one or any others, because we would learn about how not to make it a pandemic, how to shut down countries and not allow the virus to spread. So there should be no other pandemics. But instead of that happening, Bill Gates is openly talking about the other one for sure, and the other one we're going to take seriously. So this one we're not taking seriously. The other one we're going to take seriously. What does that mean exactly? What exactly does that mean? So it went up again, 134/92. So my heart is tagged. And there is a lot of electricity in my body. The RF reading is pulsing, it just went up to 42. So high RF reading on the chest will make this happen. So it's all over the place. So 135/105, 131/98, 127/86, 134/92. So when I go to the doctor and the doctor takes my pressure and it shows up like 125/85, and the doctor looks at you and say, well, there's absolutely nothing wrong, because normally it is only taken once. But as soon as you're getting pulsed, start getting pulsed with this technology, this is what happens. 135/105, 131/98, 127/86, 134/92. And I could actually feel the pressure being exerted outside into my chest cavity. So again, let me show you the electricity in my hand. And see how high that RF reading is? That is what is penetrating the body, along with high electrical currents. And this is what's compressing. I'm suspecting it's compressing the arteries internally. So just like when it penetrates, these microwaves penetrate your body, and it's aimed at your stomach or your esophagus, it cramps it, it constricts it. So it constricts it, you hiccup or you burp, because when your stomach is hit, it creates heat. This is what microwaves do. This is what these technologies do. Okay, Pora Pippin. Hello, girly. We are still here. You are correct. Yeah. It also puffs up your body. See how puffy my face is? That's because my eyes were hit all day, my face is hit all day, my head was hit all day, because making money on the stock market. So this is not what we want, the traffickers. Because if you're making money, then there's no reason to show. And once these people show up on site, all the erogenous zones starts heating up and itching. And they openly talk about logging into you and no privacy for you. And I saw that, and I licked that, and I touched that. Because obviously one of the guys is not right in his head, or he's on drugs, or he's drunk. And he has a loose mouth. 126/84. So as the constriction, the pressure on the chest is released, the pressure goes back. So this is one source of high blood pressure. The other one is the verbal harassment and the fear that comes out of it, because I fully expect this man to fall off the scaffolding anytime, because I swear that one of them, I'm not exactly right in his head. So I'm sitting here working on a computer, studying the NASDAQ, and these people, and he's talking, and and even though he is talking the way he's talking, I mean, you don't want to see accidents happen. I don't want to be a witness to an accident outside my window and get traumatized that way, because it is trauma to me. So it's stressful. Plus, he's talking about rape, and he's not all there. He's talking about rape. He's talking about giving people heart attacks. So Are these people given access to microwaves? I mean, the technology that's driving the microwaves, are they being given access to kill and rape? Who gave Russell Williams the power to do what he did for so long without getting caught? Who gave this man the power to do what he's doing outside the window and getting away with it for weeks? And not only that, the same company's been doing the same thing for years, and I've been complaining about it for years, and they're still getting away with it. And it's not stopping. So corruption, it's corruption and trafficking on a very, very high level, like Epstein. Epstein is not the only ring. There are rings here in Canada as well. I think Russell Williams, Rafferty, and Paul Bernardo were all experiments. And they were all trained to do what they were doing. They were all masters and slaves at the same time. And satanic forces and satanic influences infiltrated the people who are in positions of power are being infiltrated by satanic groups who use these satanic power, which is the negative side of the God power. Really, it's the negative side. It's the same power. It's just used negatively. So they use it to gain power and to keep it. Keeping power by raping, pillaging, killing, subjugating, keeping people servile, getting rich and keeping power, getting rich, getting power, and keeping the power using satanic forces. Now, there's absolutely nothing new in using murder, rape, pillage, and all these criminal activity to keep power. The caste system in Canada is exactly the same thing. Throughout the years, this is what humanity did to one another. We enslaved one another. We kept certain classes of people servile. We murdered and raped. This is our history as human beings, unfortunately. So this is just a repetition. The only added dimension to this is there's a satanic force that's added to this whole need, this whole drive for power. So it's satanic ritual abuse. And there are groups like the Masons, and not all Masons are bad, obviously. Not all Masons are bad. But there's people in the group who obviously hates women. So women are being subjugated, and women are being raped, and women are being passed around and being made common, and are being kept servile and dehumanized and degraded. It's all part of it. And kids, pedophiles, not necessarily Masonic, but it's the same idea behind what they do. They degrade and dehumanize children. If they didn't dehumanize children, then they wouldn't be able to use the child. It's the same idea. So nothing new in this fight. There's absolutely nothing new. It's been going on. It was being done covertly. It's just now it's being done in your face, outside the window, in your face. Now, why would that happen? Well, because all the right people in all the right places are doing the same thing. So they have backup and they have support. It only lasts for a short time, as Epstein found out. We have the technology We have the power and the technology to expose this and stop it. For the first time, in known history, we have the power in our hands not to be bamboozled, not to be kept servile, not to be taken advantage of. We have the power to take back our freedoms and not be slaves. It's in our hands. We have it. Just don't be bamboozled. Don't believe what the mainstream media tell you. Ask the politicians the right questions and keep asking until you get the answers. If laws are passed and you don't agree with it, then stand up and speak out. I am not talking about violence. I am talking about peaceful protests that could be online. You don't have to be on the street to do this. You don't have to be on the street to do this. Just make your voice heard online. Refuse to be a slave and refuse to be led by the nose. Refuse to be chipped. There is absolutely no need to be chipped. And there is absolutely no need for another pandemic. Well, okay, bad wording. From the people who are driving the chipping program, there is a need for it. But, there is no reason why it should happen, is what I should say. It should not happen because we would be learning from this one and put processes and procedures in place and laws that involves other countries as well to share information. So the other one never happens. This is the whole point. We're supposed to learn from it. So why are we being bamboozled? There is going to be a second wave and a third wave and a fourth wave. And the virus mutated. Well, there's going to be other viruses. So what do? You just hide in your house for the rest of your life? Donald Trump is right. Open up the economy and live. We all have to die. And there is no point in living in fear because that's not living. Take all the proper precautions. If you need to wear a mask in certain situations and social distance, if that makes you comfortable, then do that. But we should refuse to live in fear, no fear. We should refuse to have our lives shut down. If your life is shut down, what's the point? There's no point. We need to stop living in fear, and we need to ask our leaders, quote unquote, because in my opinion, some of these people are not leaders. They're infiltrated. So they're not leaders anymore. They're not working for the people. They're working for the people who are backing them up and infiltrated them. They're not our leaders. But anyway, it's time for us to stop being bamboozled and being scared all the time. There's going to be another wave, and this one is going to be worse, and it's mutated, and it's going to be around forever. Well, there's a lot of viruses that's going to be around forever. And there's going to be other viruses as well, because people are experimenting all over the world. And these viruses are being released intentionally, unintentionally on us. What do? You're going to shut down your life forever? It's like GMO food, right? It was released and pure grains were contaminated and cross-contaminated, and there are all kinds of laws about what farmers could do, and a lot of farmers died, committed suicide in India. Well, it's the same thing like with viruses. People are experimenting, and they're going to release it legally or illegally. We can't shut down our lives. Then we need to talk about the use of directed energy weapons, because they are being used. 5G is a weapon system. They're already talking about 6G and 10G. And 5G is not completely rolled out. Ask the question. Demand the answer. Don't be scared. So I shield, and I don't have the shielding behind me, or else I would demonstrate the effects of the shield. Because when I shield, these numbers do go down and stay stable. I just got a pulse on my chest. So I'll take my pressure one more time. Yeah, so that's the pulse. That's the pulse on the chest. 132/89. Okay, so I do shield. So, but definitely, I think it needs to be checked out. So you'll have to get it checked out. So talk to you another time, and don't be living in fear. We have to stop living in fear.